Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Co-op Podcast. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Gary A. Swaby. How's it going, Gary?
It's going good, thank you very much. How you doing, Rich?
Going pretty good. Just trying to process all of the information we received this particular weekend regarding San Diego Comic Con.
Oh
Um,
yeah, a lot happened, I heard.
oh yes, and I'm going to be recording a show a little bit later on with Dana Abercrombie because I know that she is actually following all this stuff as it happens. So definitely stay tuned for that. But we are going to say a few things about the MCU announcements as well on this show today. So yeah, definitely a lot to get into as well as a few gaming topics. Not too many because this is the summertime and there typically isn't really a lot of news that happens during the summertime. But a few things worth discussing. So we'll get into that today.
Indeed, indeed, we will.
So before we jump into those topics, we're going to talk about what we have been playing. So I'm going to go to you first, Gary, and why don't you let everybody know what you've been playing?
I haven't really been playing much this week, but I did play some Overwatch, of course. And with regards to that, I have some things to talk about real quick. So, remember last week I was saying, the game's starting to get a bit stale. I'm starting to get a bit frustrated with the formula and competitive and everything. Well, Blizzard just they made an announcement and completely changed everything. So in a few weeks they're going to be adding a huge update to the game that's going to completely change the way competitive mode works, which is the ranked mode. So now they're going to add a role queue. So the way it is at the moment is like when you get into a competitive match, as a team, you're supposed to have like two tanks, two healers, and two offense characters. But because people are so accustomed to playing their favorite heroes, they just select their favorite heroes instantly without caring about the team composition and which roles you should be playing or whatever. So the way that they're going to fix that now is you're going to queue up for the rank that you actually want to play. So in each team, you'll be sure that there's always going to be two healers, two tanks, and two offense characters. So that's going to be mandatory now. This is going to improve the game a lot because now you won't have to put up with people not wanting to play certain roles that you need. Everyone's just going to be, like they're going to be playing the roles that they want to play, basically. So that's going to resolve all of that, and they're also going to incentivize people to play all of the roles as well. Because the way it works is you have a separate rank for each role now, and you're going to be incentivized. So like if you only like playing healers, for example, they're going to incentivize you to also play tanks and attack characters as well by giving you more competitive points at the end of the season. And you can spend those competitive points on gold weapons, which used to be a big deal, but they're not so much a big deal anymore because everyone kind of has them now. But but yeah, I think a lot of this stuff is going to improve the ranked mode significantly, and it's also going to improve the Overwatch League because for a long time the Overwatch League was getting a little boring because the teams would play the same heroes over and over just because like those were they had like this strategy basically where it was like three tanks and three healers, and that was like the most powerful team composition for professional players. But now with this new formula, they're going to ensure that you have to have two offense characters, two tanks, and two supports. So the players in the Overwatch League are going to be forced to play attack characters as well, And that's a good thing as a viewer because you're going to get to see all the snipers doing crazy headshots and all that sort of stuff that they were doing last year. That was like really fun to watch. So yeah, it's gonna fix everything. Like this new update that's gonna be added in a few weeks, it's gonna fix the playing experience and the viewing experience of the Overwatch League. So I'm very excited for that because it was a much needed update.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to hear that they are constantly making updates to the game to try and keep it fresh and appeal to those that have been playing for so long. Um, Very curious to see how this is going to, how they're going to continue to keep this up, especially when we know that there obviously will be an Overwatch 2 in the future. So it's going to be a very interesting situation for them once that time comes.
Yeah,
But
like
up until,
I really hope I hope that when they announce Overwatch 2 or whatever it is that it's not going to be a replacement for this one because it makes no sense to do this big update that they're going to do on this game and then just announce like a new Overwatch to replace it. So I
yeah,
think a lot of the rumors were saying that Overwatch 2 is just going to be a story mode basically. It's going to be like all story with no like esport competitive mode. So if they do that, then fine. But that should just be an expansion, in my opinion. But yeah, like if they do like a completely new Overwatch, then I don't know. It's gonna seem like a waste of time to master the current Overwatch that's out now. So I don't know. It's gonna be real interesting to see how they approach that.
oh yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. So we'll see how everything comes together with that. Because obviously this is probably not going to be something that actually happens until next gen. But yeah, something to look forward to, especially if you're an Overwatch fan, to see how they evolve the series. So stay tuned
Indeed.
on that. So as for what I've been playing, I've only really been playing one game in particular. Well, I spent a little bit of time uh, back in WWE 2K19 looking at some of the, again, trying out some of the creations I've seen in the community creations. So I did do a little bit of that. But aside from that, I actually spent some time in the Gears 5 technical test that is currently available on, if you have the Game Pass, you can download it right now. Um, I believe it started on Friday and it ends late tonight, early tomorrow morning, because we're actually recording this show on Sunday. So this is what I will say about it. Pretty much it is Gears 5 multiplayer. It pretty much feels exactly like Gears 4 multiplayer. They had like a little boot camp mode, which basically is a training mode to get anyone up to speed. If you never played a Gears game, I think that's an excellent tutorial mode because it goes through the whole process of whether it's the knife combat or whether it's shooting different targets, whether it's things like jumping in and out of cover and vaulting over different objects. Gears 5 multiplayer pretty much is just like Gears 4 multiplayer. Um, the boot camp mode is great for those that have never played a Gears game. They are able to actually try it out and get a feel for everything, whether it's the hand to hand combat, the shooting, vaulting over objects, so on and so forth. Um, but yeah, once I got into the actual multiplayer, yeah, I mean, it pretty much is, it felt like Gears of War 4. There's a couple of revisions here and there, certain things they introduced in Gears 4, like the way that you are able to attack enemies a different way. Some of that stuff has been refined just a little bit to make it a little bit sharper. But overall, I don't really have any complaints. I'm looking forward to playing the actual game because, from all accounts, from the gameplay we saw before and the initial cinematic trailer, all we know about Gears 5 is that they wanted this to be more of like a horror type of vibe and not really feel as though it's like the typical Gears of War game, which is why it's only called Gears 5. So obviously the story is centered around Kate, and I'm very curious to see more of that experience. Anyone that does get into the technical alpha that's going on right now, yeah, you'll get a chance to play the multiplayer, but you don't really get a feel for anything else that has to do with the story content. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wait,
But
how'd you get into the beta or the
it's
alpha?
it's actually on Game Pass right now for a couple of days. You know, it started
Oh,
on Friday. I believe it ends late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So if anyone does have Game Pass and they are curious how Gears of Five is going to play in terms of the multiplayer, you definitely should download it right now. And you know, a lot of these same gameplay elements will be in the actual game, but they have already said that this is going to be a very different type of experience because you are playing as Kate, the character that was in Gears of War 4, and it's a different type of vibe from a Gears of War game where it's going to be some more horror elements and other things in it. So pretty much, it will make you feel as though how you felt when you played the first Gears of War, where there was some elements in there that not so much just about combat, but also about the element of being surprised by the different the horrors of the world, so on and so forth. So uh, I didn't get a feel for that obviously in the multiplayer because it's only the multiplayer that is available on there. But if anybody is interested in trying it out, I definitely would encourage you to do so, especially if you have Game Pass. Because I mean, this is basically free if you have Game Pass. You can download it, play it right now, and it does end, you know, very very soon. So definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. If you are interested, that is. So, but yeah, um, that pretty much is about all that I've been playing. You know, obviously, I will have a lot to say next week because the Wolfenstein Youngblood game is actually out this upcoming week, and I definitely plan to pick that up and play that. So stay tuned for some impressions that I have on that on the next show because I'm pretty sure I have a lot to say about that. Yeah.
definitely look
So,
out for that. And I'm actually excited to get back into Gears as well. I probably won't be trying the beta out, but I do need to catch up and beat Gears 4 before Gears 5 comes out because
uh oh,
I actually really did used to love the Gears games. So I
yeah,
I hope I'm looking forward to. I hope you play with me, Rich, because it's been a while. We need to play together.
well, absolutely. And I will say, I thought that Gears 4 was a great game. Um, we do have some individuals in the past that have been on this show that said that Gears Judgment was amazing. I think those individuals need to have their heads examined. But Gears 4 was excellent. Um, so definitely check out, definitely play the game. And yeah, you need to play it for the story so that you would understand why they're taking the direction they are taking in the next game. But yeah, it's worth playing. In terms of it being an excellent sequel, I mean, there is some repetition in there because the game is basically teaching you how to play through certain parts. And, we'll obviously discuss that in more detail once you've had a chance to get to play through it. But still a great game. Very curious to see what they do with Gears 5, only because I know it's going to be a lot of different changes and of course it's a different character that they're focusing on, so on and so forth. So I'll be very curious to see how they handle that game. But that is coming out in September, so you do have a little bit of time to finish Gears 4. And if you actually play it, you could probably finish that in like a weekend because it doesn't take that long to get through. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna have to download all 100 gigs again, and then
Oh, whoa, whoa, 100 gigs.
yeah, on PC is 100 gigs. So yeah, I'm gonna
Okay,
have to
yeah.
get that.
Okay. Well, yeah. We definitely will discuss that once you have had a chance to play that.
Yeah, we'll revisit it for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So, on that note, um, let's go ahead and let's jump into the other topics we're going to discuss this week. There was a couple of news stories. Obviously, not too much, because again, this is the summertime. I am aware that Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is out right now for those that do have a Nintendo Switch. There are a couple of other games coming out, as I already mentioned. Wolfenstein Youngbloods is coming out next week, and there's a couple of things coming out. August for me though is going to be the busiest month because obviously there's a lot more games coming out that I actually want to play. But Wolfenstein definitely a great starting point to that. So we'll see about that. But yes, as for the news topics, the first topic in order to discuss is, well, as I had mentioned, San Diego Comic Con is going on right now, and I'm going to talk about that in a lot more detail on the other show that I will be recording with Dana later on. But one thing we definitely need to address, because we've been talking about this ever since the news came out about it, is that we finally saw the official Witcher trailer for the Netflix show, which is coming out later this year. So I wanted to go to you first, Gary, as I know that you've played all the Witcher games. You was skeptical of this particular trailer after we saw the images, because at first we only saw the stills of Henry Cavill as Geralt. So I wanted to get your opinion on what do you think about this trailer after seeing, the initial first trailer that Netflix released a couple of days ago.
Well, our friend Ramiz is gonna punch on me if I
Uh oh.
if I talk slick about this. So let me be careful here. Let me be careful what I say. But no, honestly though, I think it looks a lot better in motion than it did on the poster. The poster I had reservations about it, but it looks a lot better in motion, and the trailer makes it look like it is going to be a solid show. Like I like the aesthetic of the show. I think they got a lot of things right with that. I don't think the trailer is a good representation of how the special effects and everything is going to be in the show though, because with trailers you can really touch things up to make them look better than they will be. So I can't really judge the effects that the show will have and stuff like that, because this is a show that's going to need some effects. So that stuff you can't really judge until you see it. But they did a good job presenting, the world to us within this short trailer. And Geralt himself, I gotta give Henry Cavill some slack. He seems to do a good job in this trailer. He seems to pull it off. Because when I was just going off of the screenshots and the posters, I couldn't get it out of my head that that was Henry Cavill. Like it didn't look like Geralt to me. It just looked like Henry Cavill in a wig. But like in the trailer, he actually kind of pulls it off, and I find myself believing that that is the character Geralt. So I guess in the trailer he does a good job. So I guess I gotta give them props on the trailer. They sold it. They sold it to the viewers and to everyone. But my thing is we have to see the show, because a trailer can look good, but that's why I don't put too much stock in trailers anymore. Like whether it's video games or movies or TV shows, because the trailer can look amazing, but history has told us that when you actually get the finished product, it might not be what you thought it was going to be. So that's my thing. I just need the show before I can really judge. But the trailer was good. They did a great job with it, and I have to give them their props for that. But I admit I'm still a little skeptical. But yeah,
Uh oh.
but yeah, the trailer was good though. I'll give them that.
So I will say this, that I do believe that Ramis is definitely going to come after you about in regards to what you have to say about this trailer. I will just say this. I definitely think the trailer did an excellent job of getting me more interested in the show. When I saw the initial images, I was like, well, this is intriguing, but I still wanted to be skeptical because I wanted to see the special effects, the world, so on and so forth. I do agree that they did not show too much of that in this particular trailer, but I will say that I definitely am convinced that I will make the time to check this out. You know, I oftentimes need to see some type of visuals or something to know whether or not I'm going to absolutely pick something up. It pretty much depends. Although in some cases, when you hear who is going to star in something, you're already interested. And I will get into that later because I did feel that way about something else that was announced recently. But in regards to this, yeah, the trailer definitely sold me on wanting to watch the show. I'm also glad that Netflix has also come out publicly and stated that this is a adult oriented show and that they did not want to in any way, censor it so that so that it will be kid friendly. And I appreciate the hell out of that because the game is also very adult oriented in how they handle certain topics. So I'm glad that they have addressed that and said that already publicly, so that I know it's going to be as raw and as real as it gets when compared to both the books and the actual game. So that's excellent news.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, in terms of some of the other things, I definitely wanted to see some creatures in the trailer. I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
And I know that in the game we have seen, Geralt fighting all different types of creatures. So obviously, maybe they want to save some of that stuff. I know the whole tagline is that, sometimes the worst monsters are the ones that we become. And I guess that is what you will get a feel for in the actual show. But I definitely wanted to see some him, slicing up some carrot, some creatures in that trailer. I didn't get to see that, so hopefully we get to see that in the show
And
because
that's what makes me skeptical as well. Because like, are you guys hiding something? Like, do you want us to not see how bad they look or something? Like, that's a big part of The Witcher, the creatures and stuff. So yeah,
I agree. I agree 100% with that. Um, for now, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and hope that they will address that later on when we actually see the show. But I definitely would have had something in that trailer to get excited about in terms of the type of adversaries that he will be facing because I feel like that is a necessary component. I know a couple of years back, San Diego Comic Con, when they revealed that Marvel, the Avengers trailer, and they had the footage of Thanos throwing the moon at Tony Stark, I was like, well, wow, that's absolutely ridiculous. It's incredible. But that made me even more excited to see the movie, not just because Thanos was in it, but because you're actually seeing some type of battle sequence. There was a little bit of a sequence in this particular trailer, but I mean, this looks like he's just fighting against human enemies. I want to see the creature, sure, because as you said, that's a big element of what is actually in the game. So hopefully, we do get to see more of that.
yeah. I
But
do like that they showed the Nilfgaardian army, which is a big part of the lore as well. So
yeah,
that's cool that they showed that. But yeah, we just got to see the show, man. That's all I can say. It was a great trailer, like you said, and I gotta give them their props. But I just, I want to see the final product.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. So hopefully, Netflix hasn't really given a release date yet. All we know is it's coming in 2019. I will say this, and hopefully Netflix does not come after us after this. I know Netflix has not been doing well financially because it was news that came out recently that stock had dropped and they've been losing money. So I would like to think that, given that information, they definitely will announce a release date soon. I mean, they are fully aware that in November, when that Disney streaming service drops, they are going to definitely have even more competition than they already have right now. So I would like to hope that Netflix is going to actually announce when this is coming out. They have only said 2019. I would assume sometime in the fall, but they definitely will have to give us a release date at some point in time because, and I would have thought that San Diego Comic Con would have been the perfect time to announce this, but apparently it isn't. So hopefully it actually is dropping this year. And yeah, it actually turns out to be a good because I want Netflix to be successful still, despite the fact that obviously have decided to increase the price of the service and all this other stuff. I still want them to be successful, but yeah, they definitely got to have their strategy in mind before they announce it. So hopefully, when it does come out, the show is successful and it actually is good. But I will say again, the trailer looks promising, so we'll see how the final product actually turns out.
Indeed, indeed. And, Netflix, like, I don't want them to go away, to be honest. I feel like Disney and these other services, they're gonna need the competition. So I'm hoping Netflix can, pull through and get a lot of original content under their belt. I just finished Stranger Things season 3, and
Uh
that
oh.
was another great season. I mean,
Uh oh.
the first one is my favorite, but this one was really good. Like, definitely better than the second season. They did a great job, and if they can continue producing quality shows like that, then I'm gonna stay subscribed. So I just hope that they can stick around and come up with some good stuff. Because I feel like in the coming years or so, a lot of uh, a lot of the networks and stuff that were putting content on Netflix, I think they're gonna start to pull their content away to put it on the Time Warner service and on Disney. They're gonna pull their content and keep it on their own service. So Netflix, they have to do their best to secure new content, and sometimes that's not always just funding your own projects. Sometimes you might even have to visit some of these small film festivals and see what indies are doing, and maybe you can strike a deal and buy their projects, because there's a lot of people out there doing creative things. So
Oh yeah.
if Netflix becomes that place, like if they become like the Spotify of movies and TV shows, then I think that's a good spot for them to be in. Because with Spotify and stuff, a lot of like indie people, they manage to find success putting their work on there and stuff like that. Or SoundCloud as well. Like if they can be that sort of service, then I think that's a space for them to occupy and compete with the two giants that are coming. So
Oh yeah, I agree 100% with that. So competition is definitely needed in order to become better. But we'll see what Netflix has planned. I do agree that Stranger Things was pretty good. So I am hopeful that this Witcher show will also be good. But we'll have to wait and see how all of that turns out.
yeah,
Yes. So moving on to another topic, and I'm going to segue since you mentioned that competition is good. I do believe that competition is good. In the case of Microsoft, though, um, only time will tell in terms of what they have planned for next generation. Because it was revealed this past week that Microsoft released its Q for fiscal year 2019 financials. And apparently that revealed that gaming revenue has declined 10% year over year to 233 million. So what that essentially means is that Xbox One hardware revenue declined by 48%, and that is means that it's a decrease in the number of consoles that are being sold. In addition to that, software and services have also declined for gaming as a whole. Now, Microsoft obviously is not concerned about this number because they have said that they attributed it to, basically the late end of the console generation. We already know that the next Xbox is coming fall 2020. So I don't think that they are going to really worry about this particular console sales dropping right now for the Xbox One. However, I will say this, while they can say that they are not concerned about that, and they can say, well, they don't really expect it to be a big deal, we have to acknowledge the fact that PlayStation console is still selling very well. And
yeah,
obviously, with the fact that you have a lot of these games that are coming out, later this year as well as next year, um, I mean, Death Stranding. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that if they don't have a PS4 by the time that game comes out, they may have one this holiday season. Because I did see that Amazon Prime had a lot of deals this week where they were selling the PS4 bundled with Spider-Man and another game. I don't know what the other game was, but I did see that obviously the console was still selling. So I really do feel that software is a major component in that. And I think that Microsoft can say they're not really worried about the decline in console sales. I do believe internally they definitely do have some concern because the software just isn't there. No, as I mentioned earlier, I've been playing the Gears 5 technical alpha. Obviously, Gears is coming out this fall in September, but really, that's the only real exclusive that Microsoft is releasing when you think about it this fall. Everything else is also going to be available on PC and PlayStation as well. So I think that them not being concerned about this, yeah, it's fine if they're not concerned about it, but I'll be curious to know what they have to say next year when they do have the new console out. You do have Halo and Ori and all these other games coming out. I'll be very curious to hear what they have to say then. But Gary, what do you think about this news regarding the Xbox One and the declined sales on the console?
Yeah, I mean, Uh, we've beaten Microsoft to death, over the past few years, just because of the position they're in. I think a lot of this stuff is just circumstance, We all know what happened already. We know the history of this generation, and somebody has to be last place. That's that's the reality of it. The only thing is here, like it seems like they're trying to play it off. They're trying to say, "Oh, there's fatigue. There's like current gen fatigue or whatever." They're trying to, downplay this decline or whatever. Like, no, Microsoft, don't try and don't try and downplay it. Like, this is just the reality of what's happened. But they are perhaps in the best position moving into the next generation, though. Like, they might be at bottom place, and I feel like they should accept that, but they should also see, and like I'm sure everyone else can see that they've been laying a lot of the groundwork for the transition to the next generation, and I feel like there are a few steps ahead of Sony. Well, they're like miles and miles ahead of Nintendo, because Nintendo's like they're not making any moves at all, because the Switch is just flying off the shelf, so they don't have to rush into any new generation or whatever. They're just doing their own thing. But I feel like Microsoft is ahead of Sony in terms of transitioning, and I think that that they're going to try and make sure that next generation is definitely more in their favor than this one was. But yeah, like I don't think they should downplay it. Like, that's just what it is. They made some bad decisions at the start of the generation, and it plagued them for throughout the whole generation. And they never kind of recovered from it. That doesn't mean that they haven't had good games, because they definitely have. They've had some great moments as well at E3. They've had, they've had their moments this generation. It's just that the nature of the business is that somebody has to be in last place, and it's all dependent on a number of variables and who the people favor. And Sony was just the top dog this time around. Nintendo are quickly catching up though, but yeah, that's just what it was. So also, I mean, of course, we do have to factor in that we are transitioning to a new generation. So a lot of people aren't going to be buying a new Xbox and a new PlayStation. I mean, they're still buying PlayStation, but it's going to naturally decline anyway, just because people are aware that we are going to be moving into a new generation soon. And I also feel like things like introducing new models midway through the generation as well, like with the PlayStation Plus and the uh, the Xbox One X. I think that kind of soured a lot of consumers, because it's like they had to it added a lot of confusion, and a lot of a lot of unhappiness to some consumers. The fact that there's all these different models and different ones that they can buy. So it's just it's all of these factors that go into why this decline is happening right now. But I don't think we should let this decline dictate the narrative for next generation, because I definitely feel like Microsoft is in the best position to bounce back, and I believe in them. I think they can bounce back. So that's what I got to say. What about you?
Well, yeah, I absolutely do believe that Microsoft is. I mean, I had a conversation with this about my friend the other day because he did ask me what I thought about Microsoft and what I thought about moving forward into the future of Xbox and PlayStation. And I told him that, I mean, I think Microsoft is definitely going to have a much better next generation. I'm not in it. I'm not prepared to say that they are going to completely dominate Sony because I feel like this generation Sony has done a good job of letting the gamers know that they absolutely care about them, and they have so many games they've released, and obviously not every game, you know, is for every type of person, but they have a diverse lineup of titles that they have released where I think they've definitely captured a lot of gamers' attention this whole generation.
Wait, who, Sony
Whether
or
it's
Microsoft?
Sony,
Oh, okay, yeah.
you know whether you're a fan of Spider-Man or you like controversial stuff like Detroit Become Human, which I think is was an excellent game this generation for Quantic Dreams and Sony. But I mean they have so many titles that appeal to different types of audiences. Where I definitely have to say that if they continue to have these type of games going into next generation, then I think that they will still be uh, in the conversation for being the top console. But as far as Microsoft is concerned, I think this generation it has just been about after having the flawed launch of the Xbox One, it's been about trying to get back in the goodwill with the customer. And obviously, when you introduce stuff like Game Pass and the backwards compatibility, that definitely gets a lot of people on board. But I think at the end of the day, it also comes down to the software, which is something that Phil Spencer has acknowledged, which is why they have been buying up these studios and they're making an investment in creating more first party content. So I definitely think that next generation, they will absolutely have a far better performance wise. But I'm not prepared to say that they're all of a sudden going to dominate and be the number one console. I think it's going to take a lot more time for them to really do that. But they're making a lot of strides, and I do think that next generation, depending on what happens with some of those studios that they have formed new relationships with and how the games actually perform, I definitely think that they are in a position to once again be number one. But I still think it's going to take some time. So I'm going to say they'll definitely do better next generation. But better than Sony, I don't know about that. Better than Nintendo, I don't know about that because Nintendo Switch is still doing well right now. Nintendo may not even release another console for a while because they don't need to. They can just work on software and put it out on Switch and be done with that. But as for Sony and Microsoft, yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens next generation. But I think Sony has they have enough. They're in a position where if they just continue putting out good games, they tweak some of their services and they offer more to their consumers. I think that they will continue to be at the very top of the list. But Microsoft is right there. I feel like Microsoft they can definitely do a lot better next generation. But I just don't think that they're going to be number one. I mean, it's a toss up. It depends on what happens with these studios that they have acquired. But for right now, I will say at the very least, they're definitely going to have a much better generation, next generation than they did this generation. That I think is a guarantee. But we'll see how far it goes.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much all there is to say about it. We just gotta wait and see. But I definitely feel like they've been making some smart moves lately. Games Pass being one of them, and snatching up the studios as well. So
Oh yeah,
they're doing their
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. They absolutely, yeah, they absolutely have been making some smart moves, setting a precedent, and they definitely want to try and work with everybody as it appears. So I'm very curious to see where these relationships go in the future. Um, so yeah, but yeah, it all depends on. I think Phil Spencer knows though. It's about the software. No one is going to be invested in the hardware without software. So I feel he is in tune with that line of thinking, which is why they don't really expect the console sales to be great, especially as we're heading into whatever they announce next. But I will say that I believe that it has already been confirmed that this next Halo game is also coming to Xbox One X in the regular Xbox One. So I don't really see what the incentive would be for somebody to pick up the new Xbox when they know that they can play this game on their current Xbox One or PC. They're going to have to do I don't know how they're going to present that next year when they have this Halo presentation. What is the benefit from me getting this on the next Xbox? They're going to have to explain that because I really do think that is something people are going to be want to be interested in. Besides just feeling like, oh, I have a new console, I want to feel entitled because I bought the newest console, the latest and greatest. But what are the benefits to having this on this console as opposed to just buying the game and playing it on the regular Xbox One? They're going to have to definitely talk about that. But we'll see. That's a year from now, so we'll find out that information in due time. Yeah.
Uh, One thing I just want to bring up quickly is just like a quick thought that came to mind. Like, so there's one guy that used to be affiliated with the Koalition years and years ago. Every now and then he calls me and, he puts me on to what he thinks about, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, the whole landscape
Uh,
of gaming and
oh.
stuff. And one of the things he mentioned to me, and this was before something happened, but like he said to me that the reason Microsoft is being so friendly with Sony and Nintendo right now, is because they want to kind of pull the wool over everyone's eyes. And he was saying that they want to kind of steal talent from Sony and possibly Nintendo. And then a few weeks after this conversation happened, there was that news that somebody from the God of War team or Sony Santa Monica went over, like they moved to Microsoft basically. So that's interesting. Do you feel like there's any truth to that? Like Microsoft is basically, you know, they have their secret tactics, and they're being a bit manipulative to put themselves in a better position.
Oh well, I absolutely do believe that this stuff goes on a regular basis. This is the very nature of competition. I know that when I was with our very good friend Anthony Frazier at I took that trip with him to California all those years ago for the New Me Accelerator. I do recall there was one individual that we had spoke to that he basically was a chef and he was working. I believe he was working at Facebook at the time,
Hmm.
and he got an offer from Google to join their team instead. So he decided to jump over to Google and basically cooks for everybody at Google now.
Whoa.
So this stuff definitely happens. Um, we have seen it happen in pretty much every industry. I know, for example, as we have spoken about on WrestleCast before, a lot of the talent in WWE they're not happy right now. So I know that Vince has been offering them a lot of them, really overpriced contracts, a ton of money, just for them to stay there and not go to AEW. So I 100% believe that a lot of these tactics are out there. In the case of this, Microsoft probably just offered him a ton of money, um, and some type of better opportunities where he, because I mean, obviously Microsoft is in a situation now where they are trying to build and they are willing to invest. So I'm pretty sure they will make a lot of offers to a lot of these people, whether it's Sony, Nintendo, or any company. to get them on board to help build up what they have going on with their infrastructure and with their software lineup. So I 100% believe this stuff is definitely going to happen. Um, and obviously, if you are an independent contractor, you're not brought on a company full time. Then obviously, if you see an opportunity where you can go to another company and get offered not only a full time job but more money, more benefits, oh, 100%, you definitely should take that, or you at least should consider it. So it's what it is. It's a business. So I definitely believe that yeah, the friend who made this comment, I do believe that he is correct. Um, I know he talks about a lot of conspiracy theories though, so some stuff may not all be valid, but this particular thing I definitely see as something that does happen because I've seen it happen in a lot of industries, so I'm pretty sure it's going to definitely happen. And Microsoft is in a position now where they definitely want talent. They want to, restore their brand. Continue to do well. So they're going to do what they got to do to make that happen. So yeah, I believe that definitely does happen on a regular basis, and it's going to continue to happen. It's a very competitive market, competitive time. So got to do what you got to do to remain relevant.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. I think this definitely happens a lot between like corporate companies and stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure, especially if they're based close together. And this was another point that this person made as well, because Sony actually moved their headquarters somewhere near where Microsoft is, like basically. So this is likely to happen a lot now. So,
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
and I'm sure this happens a lot in what's that area, Palo Alto or San Francisco, where a lot of those tech companies are. I'm sure that happens repeatedly in places
Oh
like
yeah.
that because you have all these different corporations in one place. So so yeah,
Oh oh. Absolutely. Yeah, you meant to say Palo Alto. That's the place.
yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm British. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, but this stuff does happen. But one thing I will say though, just to go along with what he said, that particular acquisition, it may seem good for Microsoft, but I just want to remind people that not everything that seems as though it can work out does ever work out. And I know this from personal experience. If you talk about a lot of different things, but we can just use sports for examples. Even though that acquisition on paper is good for Microsoft and is good for those that are on the outside looking at the situation, I just want to emphasize that not every acquisition turns out to be quite as successful as it was where it was previously at. Case in point, with sports, I think about the fact that, I obviously am a Boston Celtics fan. Kyrie Irving got traded to the Boston Celtics. Everyone assumed that the Boston Celtics, you have Gordon Hayward, you have all these talented players, and you have Kyrie Irving on this team. Obviously, they could win a championship, right? Well, that never happens. And it was because of a lot of the issues that Kyrie Irving had with some of the other people that he was playing with. They just did not mesh well. So what I'm saying is that even though Microsoft made this acquisition and brought this guy on this team, what's to say that this doesn't work out in their favor? And even though this guy worked on God of War, the game he's working on now, it may very well turn out to be a disaster. We don't know that yet. So that's why I said, while it's a good acquisition for Microsoft, we still have to wait and see where this ultimately leads because everything doesn't guarantee that it's going to be successful. Um, so that's one point that I just wanted to make. But on paper, it's a great acquisition for Microsoft. But let's see where it goes from here before we really judge it and say, okay, this was an excellent pickup for Microsoft because you just never know sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And great
Yeah.
analogy too with the basketball.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just yeah. Just to try to make just want to say it in a simpler way that others may understand. But yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that was a great point to bring in there because I do remember you said you had that conversation with him. So I'm glad you brought that in there, just to give people a little knowledge on the inside. You know.
Indeed, that's
Okay.
what we do here.
Yes, absolutely. So let's jump on to the next topic. So two things to mention about Nintendo. First, let's talk about you want to mention to me this news about Nintendo is going to release an upgraded model that has increased battery life. Please feel free to share some more details on this particular
Y-
story.
yeah. So while I find the exact numbers, basically, the Nintendo are, of course, the Switch Lite is coming out. That's something else, but they're also upgrading the existing version of the Switch so that the battery life will be vastly improved. I believe it's something like 9 hours. Hold on, let me find these figures because I don't wanna
Uh
mess
oh.
this up before
Uh oh.
Nintendo will come after us.
Uh oh.
Nintendo Switch battery life. I think it was something like 9 hours now or something. Yeah, so 4.5 to 9 hours of battery life now, basically. So yeah, like for no reason at all, they just decided to upgrade it. And I just want to say that I really appreciate when companies do things like this, like when they just upgrade the base model without putting out an entirely new version of the console and paying more for it. I think it's cool when they just, naturally upgrade it so that it has the best specs that it can be. Now, obviously, that might suck for people who already bought the system, and they would benefit from that, extra battery life. But for new people like me who have yet to get a Switch, this is actually great news because now I'm going to get an even better version of the Switch, when I get around to buying it. So I feel like this is a good thing. I feel like all companies should do this. Just if they can afford to do it without putting the price up more, they should just issue an upgrade just to make the product a little more improved for the new people who are going to be picking it up. And yeah, I mean, it sucks for people who already bought it. I mean, not sucks because I mean the normal Switch is still good. This doesn't mean that the existing Switch is bad or anything like the one that already came out. But it just means that new consumers will benefit from this. And if an old person is really bent up about the improvements, they can sell their current version and buy a new one if they really want to, I guess. But yeah, I think stuff like that is good. Nintendo obviously recognized that they can improve the battery life, and they opted to do it. So there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh yeah. Um, I do agree that it is good to offer this option for those as well as the Switch Lite.
Yeah.
Um, oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna add in real quick. So the current version lasts between 2.5 and 6.5 hours, but the new version will last between 4.5 and 9 hours. So yeah, you know that's a pretty decent upgrade.
And did they have a release date as to when this is coming, or is this something where they didn't really give any specifics about the launch time?
So in terms of the date, I'm not actually sure to be honest with you. Let me see here. I'm not sure if this is a something that happens like right away or if there's like an actual date when this is going to be available. But yeah, like carry on with what you were saying, and if I find anything, I'll definitely let everyone know.
Oh, oh no, I just was saying that I would hope that this particular device, this upgrade, is going to be launching soon. It would be ideal if this is something that launched close to the time of the Switch Lite, just to give people a little bit more options. But we'll see what happens with that as far as that's concerned. It would be great if this battery thing was something that people can just purchase instead of buying a new Switch outright. They can just purchase, I don't know, an improved battery to use with the device. But I don't really know because again, I don't have a Switch right now, so I'm not really sure if that's even an option. But I would say if that was an option in the future, that'll be excellent. So that someone doesn't have to buy a new Switch to get that benefit of having improved battery life. But
Yeah,
again,
they should do that where you can like trade it in. Like that should be an option.
but yeah, just don't go to GameStop and trade it in because we already know GameStop they're gonna definitely give you value for whatever it is that you bought that Switch for. So don't go to GameStop.
So yeah, this will start rolling out next month in September. So I guess same time as uh the
Switch
the
Lite.
the Switch Lite. Yeah. So
Okay. So in other words, if someone doesn't have a Switch and they want to get one, they should wait a couple months to get it. Don't buy it right now.
yeah, pretty
That's
much.
what you're saying.
Yeah. And there's also, I'll link all this stuff in the post, but there's also a model number that you should look out for to tell if it's the new upgraded one. So I'll link all that information when we post the show and everything, so people can see.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, sounds good. All right, so um, moving on to the other bit of Nintendo related news, we did get some information about the June NPDs, and I mean, looking at this particular information is not really surprising to me, but we'll get into it anyway. So obviously, the top selling hardware, yeah, the top selling hardware for June was, of course, the Nintendo Switch. Um, Not really a surprise. Nintendo has been doing very well with the Switch. But let's talk briefly about the top selling software for the month. And some of the stuff on here may surprise you. So, number 10, we had Days Gone. Interesting. That's a game that came out in May earlier this year. Um, and it has been doing well since then. So I find that interesting because I know that that game definitely got criticized a lot by a lot of different people. So interesting. So Days Gone, number 10. Number 9, Mario Kart 8. Number 8 was NBA 2K19. Number 7 was Spider Man. Number 6 was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 5 was Minecraft. Number 4, GTA 5. Number 3, Mortal Kombat 11. Number 2, Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fueled, and of course, number 1, Super Mario Maker 2. So, do you have any thoughts on any of these games making the top 10 for June?
Um, I mean, I guess you can tell it's a slow period when all these old games are popping back up. Like, I mean, of course, GTA 5, that usually always pops up again every now and then. But, you got Spider Man back in there. Of course, that must be the movie. That's probably why. NBA, Smash Bros. So you can tell pretty much that it's a slow season and not a lot of new stuff is coming out. But yeah, I mean, Days Gone, I'm actually kind of surprised that it managed to stay in the top 10. Yeah, like, especially with all the criticism. But besides that, I mean, a lot of these are great games, so I can understand why people are picking them up now because it's summertime. I'm not sure when the kids have their summer vacation in the States, but it's that season now where people are on vacation and stuff, and they're probably going to be looking to play games whether it's on their Switch, playing it on the go, or bringing it to their vacation with them or whatever. I guess people are going to be picking up a lot of these old games that they might have missed, and catching up and stuff before the new games start dropping in September. So So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that we're seeing a lot of these type of games. Minecraft, wow, I'm surprised Minecraft is in there because that game is like a relic now. Like it's so old. But yeah, Super Mario Maker, I'm actually well, I guess I'm not surprised that it's number one. But you know, I didn't know that it was that big of a game. Like, because I didn't really hear a lot of people talking about it. Obviously the day it came out, I was actually with Carl, and I know he had a copy of the game, and that's the only reason I know it was out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that it was out that day. And I don't really hear a lot of people talking about it. And it's a game I'm kind of interested in because I like the concept of creating things. Even one of the games that we've been making fun of for a long time, like I saw something the other day on Twitter that made me be like, wow. And that game was actually Dreams. Like somebody actually made like a Final Fantasy VII remake in Dreams, and that made me think, wow, you can do that in Dreams. I guess I need to start paying attention to Dreams more. But yeah, like games like that, I like the concept where you can create stuff, but because I never heard a lot of people talk about it, I didn't know that it was selling that much. But I guess that's pretty cool. You know, Nintendo are just kind of killing it right now. So they're doing a great job with all these exclusive games. But yeah, GTA 5, like I mean, I know every week there's a new 16-year-old or something that, you know, hasn't, you know, who just gets like a console and hasn't got GTA yet, so their parents go to GameStop and buy it for them, you know. But wow, I'm still shocked that it's selling that much to this day. Like it's insane. Like it really is insane. When did that game come out again? Like 2012, 13?
Well, on the Nintendo, I'm going to say on the PS4 and Switch, I'm going to say Xbox, it definitely had to be 2015, I think. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, yeah, because it came out last gen first, didn't it? So I think
Yeah, yeah,
that was around 2012 or something, or
yeah.
13. But yeah, like it's that game has been out for so long, and it's like still popping up here. Like that is an amazing achievement for Rockstar and Take Two.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they definitely should be proud of that. But they've also been continuing to surface the game, so that's another reason why it remains where it's at. They continue to put out new content and continue to service the community. So yeah, that makes sense for it to still be on there. I find it interesting. Red Dead Redemption 2 was not on there because that Red Dead Online just came out of beta. So maybe that will change over the next couple of months. But I'm just surprised that that just has fallen off the top 10 relatively quickly. You know, obviously people are more interested in GTA, so um, yeah. Only last thing I will say is the NBA 2K19. I'm not surprised because last month was the end of the NBA playoffs. We're really starting to hit right into the finals, and on top of that, there were a ton of sales where you was basically able to buy NBA 2K19 for like 95% off. So a lot of people were buying that game for like $3. So that is explains why that is definitely in the top 10. That's not really a surprise. And really, the only major release last year, I'm going to say last month, besides the Crash Team Racing, was Super Mario Maker 2. So I fully expected that to be number one regardless. I am curious to see though what's going to be the top selling game this month because there's a couple games that came out this month that I think everybody did want to pick up. So we'll have to revisit that again when that time comes. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Do you think Marvel Ultimate Alliance will make the next one?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely think that will. That was by far one of the more anticipated games this month. I definitely also expect Wolfenstein to be on that list as well. But it's a question of what's going to be in the top three. Um, I That's hard for me to tell right now because but I mean we'll find out in due time. But Fire Emblem will definitely be on there as well as Wolfenstein and the Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I just don't know what's going to be, and when you narrow down the top three, I don't know which one of those games will be in the top three. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. So we'll find out sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it could pretty much be anything. You know, it could be GTA 5 for all we know. So
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. We'll we'll see. We'll see. All right. So moving on, I believe we have a few other topics to get into. So this one may not be that long because we spoke about this last week. So obviously, Marvel's Avengers, they had a panel at Comic Con that they were going to reveal gameplay at, and we actually spoke about this on the last show. And I did say on that last show that I would not be surprised if that gameplay leaks out. Well, sure enough, it has leaked out. At least some footage of it is already out there. Obviously, I believe we saw right before we started the show about 7 minutes of gameplay footage that featured Thor and Iron Man, as well as a little bit of the Hulk. Now, obviously, it was not the full gameplay reveal because there is footage of Captain America and Black Widow that I also did see at that E3 panel. And of course, Marvel has said that they will release the footage a week after Gamescom. They could, because one thing about that demo is it's not as polished, and obviously, but it wasn't as polished when I saw it at E3, but I was still intrigued. So this is the first time you've seen the gameplay footage. So I want to get what your opinion on what did you think of what you saw? Was you impressed, or do you need to see more to be sold on this game?
well, first of all, the person who captured the footage, they need to learn how to hold a phone properly. But no, I'm playing. But yeah, like to be honest, like it looked good. Like from what I saw, it kind of like because obviously they showed Thor in there, and the Thor gameplay kind of reminded me of God of War, like with how he could throw around the hammer and everything and call it back and stuff and do combos with it. Like it looks very God of War to me. And but what I liked the most is how the gameplay kind of shifted based on the character you were playing. So when Iron Man was playable, it became like a flight kind of mechanic where like you could lock onto targets and shoot and stuff like that while you're flying. And then Hulk, who it was just like a straight up brawl kind of gameplay. And with when it was Thor, you could do like different combos with the hammer and everything. So I like how the gameplay kind of adapted based on who you were playing, and you could do different things based on their skill set. So it doesn't seem like it's a static thing where no matter who you're playing, you just stand there and mash buttons. It seems like the actual formula of the gameplay kind of changes based on who you are. So I liked that aspect of it, but yeah, I mean, it's such a small snippet of gameplay, and obviously the quality of the leak isn't that good. So I can't do a full analysis of it. But yeah, from what I saw, like it, I'm impressed to be honest. Like I thought it was gonna be bad, but it looks actually pretty good. So so yeah, I just need to see more of it. I need to see like the full HD version of that, and I need to see more characters to really see the feel and the direction of the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The one thing I do want to say is now that demo, I don't know if that is initially how the final game will be, where it switches to the other characters. I mean, I have no idea. I would hope that that is how the direction that they are going in, because otherwise, why introduce it that way if you're not going to have it that way? But yeah, I do very much enjoy that. And they did, and there was like I said, there was a lot more they showed that the Incredible Hulk did some really ridiculous stuff to the enemies that I'm mad that was not captured in the footage, but you'll everybody will be able to see that footage in due time, because they did say a week after Gamescom, which I believe is in August, we'll finally get a chance to see all the other stuff that they have to show. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. Um, but yeah, the game looks promising. I'm very curious to learn more about it, and obviously we will learn more about it because we still have about a year before this game is actually going to hit the stores. I mean, it's not coming out until May 2020, so yeah, looking forward to seeing more. But it definitely looks good so far.
Yeah, it like based on what I saw, it exceeded my expectations. So obviously it's a leak, so I'm just going off
I
of what I see, but it looks good from what I see.
I really don't understand why Square Enix and Marvel didn't just wait to release this gameplay video to everybody. I don't understand the decision to, well, we have E3 coming up, we have to show something. Why don't you just wait to show this stuff when it's actually done? Just like what Rocksteady is doing with their game. They didn't worry about, we need to go to E3 and show something. No, I don't understand what was the fascination of, well, we have to show something now, because I feel like that reveal trailer they showed, that was very disappointing. That didn't get a good response from the people watching at home. So I felt like you should have just waited, polished this gameplay trailer, and released this. I mean, I don't really think it was a big deal to have it at E3. You could have just said, at the end of Gamescom, oh, we have an announcement to make, and then just release the trailer at that time. Don't have all this build up of, oh, we have to show something at E3. They should have just waited, because I think they would have had a better reception from people, from everybody, if they just showed that first, as opposed to showing the cinematic reveal trailer first.
Yeah,
Um, Now, obviously, there is something that happens in the gameplay footage, which is a bit of a spoiler. So maybe that's why they didn't want to show it. But everybody's going to find out about that anyway. End of Gamescom. So I don't know why they just didn't wait, but whatever. It is what it is. But yes, I look forward to getting your full impressions after you see all of the trailer in its glory, when they release it to everybody. Yes.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Stop playing around, Square and Marvel. Just drop the footage. Drop the
Yes.
footages, as Cardi B would say.
I agree. I agree. So moving on now to the final topic for today, and hopefully, uh, we do not receive any audio issues during this particular conversation, because I'm very curious to hear what you have to say. Obviously, as I mentioned, San Diego Comic Con is going on right now, and I believe that this particular discussion is going to be about the Marvel MCU announcements that we heard about during the show, because my phone was blowing up last night when I received all of this news about Marvel Phase 4, as well as some of the TV shows. So I know that you saw a lot of this stuff as it was revealed as well. So I wanted to get your obvious, obviously your instant reactions to some of this news, and what are some of your thoughts on what was discussed. It doesn't really matter. It could be any particular thing that you heard, or a couple of things that you heard. But yes, please feel free to share your thoughts on a lot of the stuff that was announced from Marvel last night.
Yeah, so a lot of this stuff was breaking while I was asleep, actually. But I'm a very light sleeper, and I often wake up and glance at my phone to see what's going on. And at one point I saw like 500 messages or notifications or whatever, like not 500, but like a lot basically. And yeah, like while I was reading through them, like at like 4 or 5 in the morning or whatever, I saw all everyone was talking about this stuff, like, and I was like, wow, what did they announce? So I did some digging and I saw the photo with the timeline, phase 4 and everything. Now my first reaction was, what the hell? Hawkeye's getting a movie? But then, obviously I saw that it was like the Disney Plus TV show. But that stood out to me first, and I was like, man, I ain't going to see that. But but yeah, I think that's a good choice for a Disney Plus show though. I'm sure a lot of people will look forward to that, and I'll actually watch that too. Being that it's a Disney Plus thing. If he would have had his own movie, I would have been like, "What? Why?" But I think it works well as a Disney Plus thing. Now, the other stuff, Shang-Chi. I've heard about this before, but I'm not too familiar with the character. But I feel like this is going to be just a good action movie to go and see. It's gonna have a lot of like martial arts and well choreographed fights and stuff. This might end up being the Iron Fist that we should have had, technically.
Uh-oh.
And
Uh-oh.
if we didn't have Iron Fist in Netflix, they might have even just made an Iron Fist movie. But I guess they don't want to confuse people and stuff, so they went with Shang-Chi. So I think that's going to be a really good movie. Probably a sleeper as well. But yeah, now Eternals. I don't know a lot about the Eternals, but I know that they were basically made by the Sentinels, which that all of that stuff is like cosmic Marvel stuff. Which I'm still discovering a lot of the cosmic stuff. I'm still reading a lot to learn all of that history. But the Eternals is something else that could be a sleeper. But I don't know too much about that, so I don't have too much to comment on. Black Widow. Now, Black Widow, is this going to be a prequel?
Yeah, yes it is.
Okay, so that's another movie that will probably be really good, but it obviously it's not going to have any major stakes for the MCU. Now, just I'll just quickly mention Loki and the Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, these two I think are the two Disney Plus things that I'm looking forward to seeing the most. Just to see which direction, because they could do pretty much anything with Loki now, because they've basically opened up a new timeline for him with how he escaped in Endgame. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really want to see how Falcon, handles being the new Captain America, pretty much. And I want to know, like, is he going to share the shield with what's his name, the Winter Soldier dude, or is he going to only use the shield? And I feel like that movie might lead into a lot of stuff that happens in the movies as well. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I think that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. Now for everything else that's here, I feel like so first of all, let me address Thor: Love and Thunder. So
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
as I understand it, this is going to be based on Valkyrie, right? Like she's going to be like the main character, I think. I think that's what I heard anyway. And Thor is going to be in it too, and Natalie Portman is coming back. So I don't know what they're going to do with all those elements, but to me it feels like
Well,
it's going to be like a female. There's going to be a female Thor, but
yeah. Natalie Portman is going to be playing female Thor, and as for Valkyrie, they already alluded to the fact that Tessa Thompson mentioned at the panel that basically she is a king, she needs to find her queen. So that whole thing about the with them embracing the LGBT community is
okay.
pretty much going to be addressed in that movie. I would think. I don't really know what the love interest is going to be. I don't know if she's going to get with Natalie Portman or something, but yeah, they're going to definitely address that in that movie. I think because I know people was complaining about the way that they handled the gay character in Avengers Endgame. So this should satisfy them.
All right, well, yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that. So, Doctor Strange. Yeah, Doctor Strange. I think this is going to be where the future of Marvel really kicks off in this movie. Like, I feel like this is going to be, the
Yeah.
beginnings of the new direction. So this is probably the one I'm looking forward to the most because I think a lot like this. I think that movie will shape, the future of the MCU pretty much. And Ramiz actually said something very interesting in our group chat earlier today.
Uh oh.
And one of my favorite Marvel comics is House of M, which is a Scarlet Witch focused story. And basically, she kind of goes crazy, and her mind basically creates like a new reality for everyone. And Ramiz, his theory was that they're gonna do a House of M style narrative in the MCU, and maybe One Division leads into it, and
Well,
maybe Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange actually helps
I,
Wanda a lot with her, her powers and stuff. So, what was you gonna say?
so to me, it sounds like Ramis. That he, it sounds to me like he actually works for Marvel
Mm.
because they confirmed that WandaVision show is in the spring of 2021, and this movie is in 2021, and she is in the Doctor Strange movie. They've already confirmed that, so it sounds to me like that's exactly the direction that they're heading in with that.
Oh well, there
And
you go.
they also mentioned that this is actually going to be like a horror type of Marvel movie,
Oh yeah,
which is going
well,
to be like their first foray into like a horror type of vibe. So yeah, this sounds exactly like what that's going to end up being.
that makes a lot of sense then. So yeah, I'm very interested in seeing that because I love the House of M uh comic storyline. So I want to see how they manage to do that on screen. And of course, there's a lot of things they can do to lead into the future. Now, I don't know, like, obviously, I didn't see any of the footage, or I don't know how this stuff was announced or anything. I literally just read what was announced. So I see that well, before I get to that, let me talk about Blade. I think, how do you pronounce his name? I don't want to mispronounce it. Marshar Ali?
That's good enough.
I'm sorry, I mispronounced. Yeah, but he is like, if it's not going to be Wesley Snipes, and let's be real, Wesley Snipes is, he's aged now. I mean, he still looks the same. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but he's not going to be able to move around and stuff like he used to. So, he it's okay to move on from him, basically. Obviously, he was very iconic as Blade in the past, but he is older now, and although he still looks great, he's older. Like his body is older. So I think, and that's no diss because like I have like the body of a 70-year-old right now because like
Wait,
my
whoa, whoa, whoa.
my hips are always aching and stuff. So yeah, like I'm not dissing the man, but yeah, like at some point, you need to change the actor. So yeah, I think Ali is if it's not going to be Wesley Snipes, Ali is a great fit for this. If it's not going to be Snipes or Idris, then Ali is the natural pick in my opinion. You know, so
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is he actually approached him and said that he wanted to do this
wait, who?
right after. Ali actually approached Marvel and said he wanted to do this, and this was
Okay,
after the success of the after I believe it was after he won the Golden Globe for Green Book.
Okay.
You know, also he was in Spider Verse. So yeah, this is perfect. This is a perfect role for him. It was. I got a lot of texts about this last night from multiple people, and with so much excitement for this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm super happy with that casting. And I saw this funny meme earlier today where someone in the crowd said, "Wait, but wasn't he Cottonmouth already?" And Kevin Feige used the Men in Black memory eraser thing to like erase everyone's memory. But but yeah, yeah, like he was Cottonmouth, but I think Disney and Marvel are trying to distance themselves from that Netflix universe, and they're trying to act like it never happened, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think it's okay if they begin to reuse cast from those shows. And Ali he's just such a great actor, so I think that's great, and I want to see him mix with some of the other characters as well. That would be amazing to see, like if he's in some of the other films in the MCU. That would be pretty amazing, but I don't know if they're gonna do that because I want to see like how far they push it with Blade. Like if it's gonna be more extreme with the violence and everything. Because what they could do
Oh,
is they could do like a Deadpool and Blade movie or something like, and have the more violent movies in a separate kind of universe kind of thing. But I don't know.
I,
Yeah, what was you
I,
gonna say?
I, I personally think that it should be violent because I mean this is a cat. This is a guy that's killing vampires, and he is a vampire. And so I would prefer it to be as violent as the other Blade movies, but again, I'm not really sure how they're going to approach this. They did say that they was open to doing a Deadpool rated R as well, but I haven't really seen any proof of that yet. So I have to be skeptical about the violence, but the casting is fantastic. But yeah, we'll see how they handle the violent nature of that type of setting and all this other stuff that they're going to have to obviously show.
Yeah,
So
what would be amazing, in my opinion, is if they make like a Blade and Deadpool crossover in the MCU, and what's his name? What's the dude who plays Deadpool again? Ryan, what's his surname? Ryan
yeah,
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds, yeah.
Yeah, like I would love if he acknowledges the fact that he was in the third Blade movie. Like, like that would be
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
Cause,
yeah. That would be hilarious.
but yeah, so yeah, there's that, and the last thing I saw, and obviously I like I said before, I don't know how this was announced. I don't know what they said about it, but Fantastic Four was at the end of the graphic that I saw and everything, and that has me the most excited.
Uh oh.
Like
Uh
of
oh.
everything,
Really?
like yeah, like cause that's a big deal. Like that's gonna be the actual Fox merger kind of thing happening. Now I think there's gonna be a lot of build up towards that. So we might actually see a lot of glimpses and hints towards it in some of these other movies that were mentioned. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Fantastic Four is gonna be like the beginning of all the Fox properties coming into the MCU. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But there isn't even a date for that. It seems like it might be like 2022 or something. So I don't know.
So yeah, the thing about that is that Disney is going to have their D23 event at the end of August next month, and I believe that they did say that they'll have more details about Fantastic Four as well as X Men because they obviously did not have enough time to really go into all of this. But the one thing that they did also say, and this is something that you I mean this news went a little under the radar. They did announce that Black Panther 2, uh, you know, uh, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and all these other movies that they didn't announce, those are still coming. They're still in development. They just didn't talk about them at this particular panel. So they may talk about this stuff in D23 also.
Oh yeah.
Um, because we already knew Black Panther 2 was definitely, they were definitely gonna make another Black Panther. There's no way in hell that first movie made all that money. They're gonna be like, nah, man, I don't think we're gonna make another one. There's no way in hell that they would have made that decision. So that's definitely coming. It's just a matter of whenever they decide to, make it official.
Oh yeah,
Um,
like we know they're gonna have a new Black Panther and a new Guardians and a new Captain
yeah,
Marvel. We know these
yeah.
things are coming. It's just a matter of like when and how they roll it out and everything and how they tie it into everything else. So that's the thing.
And
Yeah, carry on.
and just a few quick comments that I will say. Obviously, I'll be talking about this in more detail um, on the movie cast show. But one thing a few things that I definitely have to say right now, and I must apologize if this leads to this video getting downvoted later. Um, I really don't understand why the Black Widow movie is happening now. I think that is an unnecessary movie. I especially think it's unnecessary because that is the first movie of Phase Four. So at this point, I don't understand why that, unless of course something in that movie ties to what happens in the future, which I really don't know because I mean it's very clear that Black Widow did not survive Endgame unless they are going to say, well, now she's the character exists in another universe, which they could do, but I don't understand why this movie is starting Phase Four, and I definitely will need some answers about that because obviously I'm thinking about the movie as well as the end credits. What the hell kind of end credit are you going to have if the character didn't survive? So I don't understand that. So
They're just gonna make someone else a scroll. Basically, they're gonna reveal that someone else in the film was
they,
a scroll.
they definitely could do that, and I definitely think that they are going to do that with some stuff. Like I definitely see like when we get into this Doctor Strange movie and thinking about the interaction that he had with Tony Stark about Tony Stark making that sacrifice, I definitely see Tony Stark returning in a cameo role as a scroll, maybe as like a flashback or a hallucination or something. I do think that that's possible,
I,
but
I think I might have said this before, but I think he's gonna come back as like an AI version because in the comics there was like a holographic Tony Stark that he left behind. So like there could be like a holographic AI version of him, and it's still able to use the suit and stuff.
well, they did allude to that in the Spider-Man movie as well, so that's a very good point. Where it still felt like Tony was there, just not really physically there. So we'll see about that. It's certainly possible, but in terms of the actual all of the announcements, I'm definitely excited for Phase Four. Um, I don't really know what. Obviously, there's some characters that I don't know about, so I'm very curious to learn about, like the Eternals. I don't know any of those characters. I didn't read any of the comics, so I will be coming into that fresh. The same thing with Shang Tsai. I don't know anything about that character, so I'll be coming into that fresh. But I'm definitely curious to see how they get to a lot of the questions that they have to answer. Like, who is going to be the person that will be the successor to Iron Man? That was a question that was brought up in Spider Man, and it was never answered. So I'm curious to know how you're going to get to this point. Obviously, Captain Marvel is going to be a major focus of the next phase. So I'm curious how she plays into all this as well. But I'm pretty sure we'll get our answers. Um, so I'm not really worried about it. Just looking forward to seeing what they do with Phase Four, and then of course what other surprises they have up their sleeves. Because obviously they didn't reveal everything yesterday, but they obviously have a plan for how this is all going to play out. So I look forward to seeing how it all comes together.
Yeah. And another thing I want as well, I want Ant-Man to be in some of these other movies. Like, he doesn't have to have like his own movie because I feel like his movies were some of the weaker ones in the last couple phases. But but I still think it's a good character, and I feel like he's better served in other movies, like because he's really good in Endgame and Civil War. So if he's
I mean,
like, I think when he's bonding with other characters, he's at his best. So I would like to see him in like the Doctor Strange movie or something, or just
I
teaming up with someone else.
I agree with that, and I would also argue that you don't have an in game movie not in because if it wasn't for his character, I mean, he played a very important role in that movie.
Yep.
So if he wasn't in that movie, then it just would not work whatsoever. So I agree 100% with that. We'll have to see where they ultimately go with the character, the direction, so on and so forth. But I find it interesting how there was no mention of him of Ant-Man 3, nothing. Although I'm pretty sure we're definitely going to get another Ant-Man movie, but there was no mention of that at all whatsoever in the panel. So uh, we'll see what happens with that for sure. Um, but yeah, I agree with what you have to say. He definitely should be in these other movies, some type of role moving forward.
Yeah, one other prediction. I feel like as we get more into the cosmic Marvel universe, I think we're going to see Nova at some point, which is like a popular cosmic character in Marvel. So I think we'll see him maybe even sometime in Phase 4. If not, then maybe he'll be in Fantastic Four even. And he'll probably also be in whatever Captain Marvel movies there are and stuff like that. And also, I think Rams is actually someone who keeps saying this, but the Ultimates, which is like a new kind of Avengers team, I feel like that's going to be like the new big thing to replace the Avengers movies because obviously Endgame, I don't think you can do another Avengers movie after Endgame. Like, obviously all these characters are Avengers, technically, but I don't think you can have like another film named Avengers. So I think Ultimates might end up being like the new super team up movie kind of thing. But we'll have to wait and see what direction they go in because obviously X-Men and Fantastic Four, those are going to be big teams as well. So I don't know if they're going to have I don't know how they're going to do it basically, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, 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 I definitely am curious, but as you said, we'll have to wait and see. Um, I'm more intrigued to see, yeah, again, how all of this stuff comes together, and once again, as more of these movies start dropping, we get more news. I do believe that Ramesh needs to make an appearance on the show. Obviously, whenever it is possible for him to do so, because I'm pretty sure he definitely will have a couple more things to say about what Marvel are doing. But I have to say, I am very much intrigued by what they did announce. Obviously, they didn't announce all of the movies that are coming in Phase 4 and beyond, but yeah, there's a couple more announcements I would assume are going to happen. So I would stay tuned for D23 because I do expect a lot more stuff to be said at that show. Maybe even a revelation as to who the cast are going to be for the Fantastic Four. Um, but yeah, that stuff is definitely coming. It's just a matter of when, and they will definitely reveal that information whenever they feel the time is right. But I'm pretty sure that Kevin Feige already has a timeline figured out as to this is going to get announced at this time, so on and so forth. So I'm not really worried about that. Let's
Yeah, I
just
mean,
wait and see.
if there's a Disney event coming up, you can bet they saved a major announcement for that. So yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Probably the X-Men thing will be of that. I'm sure X-Men, Fantastic Four. I mean, they could just as easily have Black Panther and stuff there too, but I think they know people are very curious what is going on with Fantastic Four and X Men, so probably will save all of their announcements for that. So definitely stay tuned for all that information. Yes. So, any other thoughts that you would like to share before we wrap up today's show?
Uh, that's pretty much it. I know you and Dana are gonna go. You're gonna expand on all of the Comic Con stuff even more. So I look forward to that. but yeah, MCU stuff. Like I'm excited to see where they go from here. And I'm just waiting to see, what the new direction is, man. Like I can't wait to see where they're leading us. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I agree. I agree. Looking forward to it as well. Yes. So on that note, definitely thank you all for listening to this week's show. Um, I definitely would like to tell all of you to stay tuned. We do have a couple of other things that we are working on behind the scenes. Also, thank you for your continued support. And please feel free to let us know your thoughts on the show once you get a chance to check it out. Uh, so, Gary, the floor is now yours for the shout outs.
Yeah, I just want to give a special thanks to some of our longtime supporters. That's M. Collins, Mauricio Aguilar, Himdil, Fergus Mills, Miguel, Antonio Rogers, and Sean Gority. We thank you all for your continued support and for being loyal to us over all these years and everything. And, big shouts to the Koalition staff and to some of our friends as well, Ramiz, Carl, and, everyone else that we speak to on a regular basis, Tony, big shouts to all of us in the community, man. That's pretty much it.
Yes, sounds good. So, thank you once again, all of you, for your continued support. Hope that you have a great week ahead, and we will talk to you all next weekend.